All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, an update on HorseMD, aka Marcelo De Angelis, following this past weekend's Expo Pro Super Show in Brazil, where he did not make weight to compete in classic physique. He weighed in at 104.8 kilos. He was supposed to weigh 101 because of his height to weight restriction. So he weighs roughly 231 pounds, or that's what he weighed when he missed the weight. So this is interesting because he announced today, just less than an hour ago, that he is going to be making the switch from classic physique to open bodybuilding, which is a little bit surprising because he does have such an aesthetic physique, really good flow, really good lines, really great structure for classic, but he's just a little bit heavy on the size standpoint. And keep in mind, again, we've talked about this a couple times, he turned pro in open initially, so it's not that big of a shock. But I did really want to see where he could go in classic physique, but I guess if he thinks it's not feasible for him to make weight, then it makes sense. Why restrict yourself to a weight division that you've already grown out of? If he's already too big, what's the point in taking off size and trying to fit down in it? When he's so young and he's such a new pro, he's got a lot of room to grow if he does switch to a category like open. So he says in this post, go to open. The whole period of this transition to classic taught me a lot. Unfortunately, the difficulties in losing weight affected my immunity, physical and mental health before I could finish the first competition. And God knows I tried until the end with all my strength, putting goal and expectation above my health. My coach and wife were not in favor of me choosing classic in the beginning because they both know my faculties and difficulties, and so during the journey, people who really like me, when they saw me degrading myself in search of weight, changed their mind. So after the virus, I was advised to stop there. I was wrong once again to go all the way. I never wanted to disappoint. I always wanted to go to the end, but I was always disappointed in myself for letting all this happen, and I will never put anything above my health, not just once again. My happiness is in the open. I really appreciate those who are by my side, and trust me, I also appreciate all the good energies of all those who accompany my work. The best is yet to come. I will strategize with the right people who care about me and dedicate myself to bringing the best physique of my life. So first of all, I just want to say I appreciate that he is now putting these posts in these little press releases that are both translated from Portuguese and English. I think that's very helpful because now a lot of U.S. English-based media is covering him because really, this whole thing, he does have a really impressive, really incredible physique. It's not something that you see every day. I think he would have made a pretty big impact on classic if he were able to make the weight. I think he's got a really good physique for that division, and I think open is going to be interesting for him. How well will he actually do in open? That remains to be seen, and I'm guessing we're probably not going to see him compete before the end of the year. If he's only weighing about 230 pounds right now, I think he's probably going to need some time to really fill out his frame to do well in open, or really well in open and win a show, but I guess we'll see. Now, next up in the news, the latest update from Hassan Mustafa, just a couple days out from the Orlando Pro, where he's going to be looking to improve upon the package that he brought 2 weeks ago in Puerto Rico. And based on this latest physique update that we just got from him, he looks insanely impressive, and to me, he looks ahead of where he was a couple days out from Puerto Rico. He looks really good. Granted, goon light is definitely a factor in this picture. He looks shredded. He looks crazy vascular, but he looks full too. And that's what I've been noticing with the last couple updates that he posted. He posted some at 4 days out. We talked about that a couple videos ago. He looked really full. And one of the things that he was concerned about going into Puerto Rico was that he was flat. In these updates, he looks really shredded, really conditioned, and he looks fuller to me than he looked for his Puerto Rico peak week. And like I said in the last video, it's going to be one of those things where we're going to see if he can be consistent with his conditioning and if it's something that he can replicate over and over and over again and even possibly improve upon. Imagine he looks better here than he looks in Puerto Rico, and suddenly he goes from being a guy last year that was placing outside of the top callouts to now being a guy that goes to the Olympia potentially off of 2 professional wins, not just trying to get there on points like he was last year, but what if he wins Puerto Rico and he wins this show back to back, and then he's going on to the Arnold Classic UK where he could have a shot at winning that. So I'm excited to see what Hassan brings this weekend. I think it's going to be an exciting show there in Orlando, and I think it's going to be really cool if he wins. Now, next up in the news, an update from Urs Kalecinski, an off-season Urs Kalecinski, where he appears to be putting on some pretty significant size already after a very impressive showing at the Arnold Classic, a win at the Boston Pro, and that other win in the Middle East. He's going to the Olympia, but he's looking to make improvements before he gets there. And one of the biggest things that I've always thought he needed to improve upon was the size of his arms relative to the rest of his physique. And that looks like that's exactly what he's working on. He says at the start of last prep, he had 47 centimeter arms. He's measuring them in this update at 50 centimeters, so an increase of 3 centimeters between the two preps. And then he went on to share a pretty significant amount of arm training footage where he looks a lot bigger than I'm used to seeing him. So I don't know what exactly he's doing differently in regards to maybe his training, his diet, his gear. But he looks big here. He looks a lot bigger. And unlike HorseMD, we know that at least not yet, he's not going to open. He's staying in Classic. I believe he said he's got about 6 pounds to play around with beneath the weight limit for his height, which I think does still allow for some pretty substantial room for him to improve, especially body parts like his arms. I mean, that's not going to add a crazy amount of weight to bring up the size of his arms. I would say a little bit more thickness throughout the chest would be good for him too, but overall, he's a very complete Classic guy. And he's done very well with what he's got so far. For him to make improvements to his arms, I think would be pretty significant going into the Olympia. And I think at the end of the day, his main calling card is his conditioning. I mean, his conditioning has been crazy at the past couple shows that he's done, and as long as he kind of maintains that for the Olympia, maybe with some added size and doesn't sacrifice the conditioning for the size, I think he's going to do very well. Now, next up in the news, a physique update from Canada's Quint Beastwood, Quentin Uriah. I think he's about 5 weeks out right now. I know that he's doing the Texas show. He looks incredible here. I mean, this is a guy, he's a much taller bodybuilder than pretty much anybody that's competing right now in open. So when you see a weight like 276, that's a big factor in that. He's over 6 foot. But he looks incredible to me. It looks like he's made some significant improvements since the last time that we saw him on stage. I would say the biggest thing would be putting on more size to his legs. It looks like he's done that. He's got some really good detail and separation there. Really good structure. I mean, I think Greg Doucette even did a video talking about Quentin, saying he was the most genetically gifted bodybuilder of all time. And I've got to admit, he does have really, really good proportions, really good structure, and I think really good genetics for the sport for a taller bodybuilder, which is not something you typically see. Shorter bodybuilders generally do better because of the fact that they have less length to fill out on their limbs. Like when you got a longer leg or a longer arm, it takes more work and more time to put muscle on that limb to fill it out proportionally to the rest of your body. And I think Ian Valliere is probably going to end up doing that Texas show as well. So we're going to see 2 of Canada's better bodybuilders go head-to-head in the U.S., and I think that's going to be an interesting event. But I'm really excited to see how Quentin does here. I mean, conditioning looks on track for this point in his prep. Looks like he's made some improvements, and I'm excited to see where he places in these 2 shows that he's doing. Now, the final story that I've got for you guys today, an homage to the classic NSP. One guy that we haven't talked about in a very long time, the Russian Synthol Kid, Kirill Tereshin, a.k.a. Ruki Bazuki Official. That's like his Instagram handle. I think it's pretty clear now that this guy has got some pretty serious issues. So if you don't know who we're talking about, this is the guy that has injected all kinds of crazy stuff into his arms, like vegetable oil, synthol, whatever he can to make his arms like these crazy pus-filled sacks of big, nasty, whatever you want to call it. But it's pretty clear now that there's something wrong with this guy. He's got some degree of mental illness, and he's doing it to his face now. And I believe it's Botox. It's hard to understand by translating. Hopefully, he's not shooting vegetable oil or synthol into his face, but it looks like he's actually in like a clinical environment getting it done. So I'm guessing it's just Botox or filler. But this is not a filter. His lips are done. His cheeks are done. It looks like he's getting his chin done, and the whole shape of his face is completely different. I mean, to me, facially, he looks essentially unrecognizable from the guy that we used to talk about. I guess it was like 2017 when he first started becoming like a viral thing. But honestly, to me, it's sad to see because I think this is like an extreme example of body dysmorphia or just dysmorphia in general when it comes to bodybuilding and fitness. This is like an extreme version of, guys look in the mirror and they constantly want to change something about themselves. They constantly see something that's not good enough. And this guy, like I said, is extreme, but he's willing to do almost anything to change how he looks. And I guess, who are we to judge if this is what makes him happy? He enjoys doing it. He's doing it in a safe way, and he likes to do this. He likes to change his appearance, and it's just a happy thing for him. Then who are we to judge? Power to him. But I really think this has got to be coming from an unhealthy place mentally because it's really kind of a pattern of behavior with the arms, with the face. I don't know if he's doing it to make himself happy, for shock value, to stay relevant, for entertainment factor. I don't know what it is, but hopefully this guy is around in 10 years and he doesn't let this mental health thing get the better of him because I think there is definitely something going on there. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. That's going to wrap it up for today's video, guys. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Make sure you leave a like on the video. Give it a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed yet already. Click that bell notification icon. And as always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power, signing out.